Hello students, this video is a follow-on of the previous catalog video. In the previous catalog video we discussed a realigned major road, aka a class B where the main road is realigned. In this example we are using the example straight out of the back of the Red Book chapter 8, and this particular example is a low order road or a class D road. So I think I need to rectify that. Anyway, there are huge differences. So basically this is a shorter calculation than a higher order road. So the differences are that there is no design period, and it's due to the fact that it's a very low order road, so it doesn't typically carry all the layer works of, say, a class B or class A road. Second of all, the traffic is calculated differently. In other words, the traffic is very low, and usually there's no selected subgrade, only a subgrade, which is typically the in situ material, which is typically treated. Okay, now I just wanted to highlight these differences before we get into a physical calc, so that going into it you already know the differences. So once you've chosen your catalogs, which is typically based on load and knowing the environmental description, the calc is pretty much the same as always, a cost comparison. And in a class D, it's really only necessary to cost the upper road layers, namely the base and subbase. So let's get straight into this calc. So first of all, the calculation will look like this, very similar to the presentation in the other catalog videos, where we are given a description of the class of the road, the material, traffic and region is described, and we asked to design pavement structures of different base types using the catalog method. So we're going to go to those catalogs at the back of the Red Book, and then we're going to choose one of them based on cost, and we're going to take that selection and we're going to indicate the compaction of each layer. So what I propose to do is to show you the calculation and then take you to each of the tables and just show you the highlighted portions and possibly just the count why they were selected. So it's pretty much saying go to all the catalogs if you just look at these descriptions, but it is also saying a cement base course is not preferred. So if you get a design with cement base course, don't use it, and of course don't go to the cement catalog. And further, it gives you information specifically for emulsion treated layers. It gives you a cost for an E3 emulsion layer at 71 rand per cubic meter, and it gives you a cost for a paving block layer 24.80 per meter squared. So the volumes and the areas, it's important to remember and take these down correctly. You're given CBR information at less than 3. This is typical of low order roads, so typically we're just going to treat the in situ material toward being a CBR of less than 3. The traffic is described as less than 75 vehicles per day, with very little to no heavy traffic, and the growth rate will be mostly less than 2%, and the region is described as dry. So the calculation explanations are merged together pretty much. So this is an extract. There's quite a heavy extract from the Red Book where the answer / memo is presented for this question. So it's telling you all the reasons why it's a class D road, and I just cut straight to the point and I say we know it's a class D road, but there are multiple categories or classes of road in a class D grouping. So we need to calculate the load. So to calculate the load, it's the traffic per lane per day, which is less than 75, so we will use 74. It's described as light vehicles, and a light vehicle has one E80. That is the translation factor. There are 365 days in a year, but we take off weekends, and we give the road a 30-year lifespan, to a growth factor of less than 2%, so 2%. So here we've got the pavement, we've got the days of the year minus the weekends, and we multiply that by 30 years to the power of 2% written as such. We multiply that by 74 multiplied by 1E80, because as we said, there's no axle counting here, it's just a straight up light vehicle count. We get an answer of about 20,000, which is 2 times 10 to the 4. So that loading, if you go to a certain table which indicates the Class D pavements, it clearly tells you which class of Class D pavement you are looking at. This is typically given to you, and there is no structural design period and analysis period, so quite frankly there is no selected layers. We told that the CBR is less than 3, so there we go. Less than 3 is subgrade 4, type subgrade 4. We go to the table, and there we are told there's no selected layers but special treatment for the subgrade. So if you go to the various, now I'm going straight to the bottom of the calc where all the tables are. This is a typical catalog. Why do I select the dry one when you get a granular dry and a granular wet? I select the dry one because I'm told the climate region is dry. So for 20,000 or 2 times 10 to the 4, 1, 2, 3 is my fit, ESO 3 is my fit, and there we go, Class D, so that will be my pavement, so I select that one. So when I go back up to my calculation, here's my first one. I then go to each of the catalogs. Like Adam, there will be 2 designs there, emulsion treated 1 design there, and block pavements, there'll be a design there. So I list my 5 pavements and I form a table. Now in the catalog or in the read book calculation, typically out of the read book, they don't explain this sort of middle step here. So I've taken the liberty of going to the costing table, which I just want to show you right before the catalog here. See, there's the costing table, and I've highlighted all the ones that fit the layer works for the various catalogs. So I go back up to where I was in my calculation, to my table, and effectively next to each one I've got depth in millimeters, and next to it I've got the costing from that table, and the green ones are the ones I was given for the emulsion and the block pavers in the question. And all I do is I take my value per cubic meter, multiply it by my depth to give me an answer. My answer is per meter squared. There is a small error there, I can't explain why, neither here nor there. So this becomes 13.51 when you add up those 3 prices per square meter. So the cost for the upper layers or for the upper pavement is 13.51 and not not 13.49. Let's just make that read. Okay. Either way, it's still the cheapest layers. That's great. So there's quite a bit of work here, and it's about 10 marks worth of work. So we take that final cost, we bring it over here, and we can add a prime coat and we can add a cost, but for there's enough work being done here. We don't have to take it any further. If we wanted to take this amount to the table of to the schedule of quantities, we'd add on a prime coat value, and we'd add on some kind of cost for, you know, for a G10 treated, you know, your CBR is less than 3. So let's just hypothesize and give it a value of, I don't know, 5 Rand 10 cents, you know, per meter squared. So then you just add up those 3 values, and you get what? 13, 3 and 5, 21, approximately 22 Rand per meter squared for the pavement. Anyway, moving on to the compaction. So this is my design. This 175 is the difference between 400, subtract that 100, and that 125 gives me 175. So I want to show you where the 400 comes from and things like that. So this is where we conclude the calculation. These percentages also come from a table, the compaction density for each of the layers. So let me just take you to the tables now. So basically the depth of a Class D road would be 400, and that was how you got the 400 minus the upper layers to get this lower layer. Right, as you can see, there's no analysis period for Class D, and that's just to highlight some of the earlier words from the question will help you to identify the Class D. And then once we've got the load, we can see it's an ESO 3 in this table. And then just to highlight the density, so you've got a if I remember correctly, you've got a G for gravel base score, so you can see it's 98%. You've got a a sub-base that's 95%, and you've got a subgrade which is less than 200, so therefore it's 90%. And of course the costing table showed earlier, and of course this is the catalogue for dry granular. You can go and find the remaining catalogues, but you've now got a question given to you, a very short calculation, and you can now identify the differences between a class D road and a class B road. So quite frankly, the calculation is very short. I've just explained the salient points to you, and you know, your answer culminates into this little calculation here where you select one and you present it with compaction. So I thank you very much for your time, and have a good afternoon.